Night has fallen. Welcome to Misano World Circuit for the first of two Lamborghini Super Trofeo races. It starts in 15 minutes time, running from 10 past 10 at night, and a very beautifully floodlit circuit through to 11 o'clock. Packed grid of cars, huge number, 27 coming out to play for Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. As you can see, nearly filling the whole start-finish straight. And it's still at this time in the evening 26 degrees. That's the track temperature. Air temperature has dropped from around the mid-30s today. It's been a hot few days at Misano, but fortunately a bit of a breeze through the day. And now the great and the good out on the circuit. They've come down from a party on top of the pit building and in the paddock. It's been a real buzz here tonight after all the qualifying and racing action. Now it's the turn of the Lamborghini heroes to see what they can deliver. Full darkness. The previous race this evening finished just as the sun was setting over the banking at the edge of the circuit, and now there is the partying on the roof. It looks rather good, but meanwhile the rest of us out around here working. Certainly a great vibe here in Italy on the Adriatic coast. No wonder it's such a popular meeting. You don't really notice the floodlights during the day, they're just poles, but at night they're very, very effective. But let's go down to the grid because we're getting ready for some interviews. But here's the championship table, just to point out Stuart Middleton, Jack Bartholomew, British duo. They're starting on the second row, but they've got a nice 6-point lead. Vito Postiglione is starting exactly in front of them on the grid. They're second in the championship. And Davide Venditti, third in the championship, has a new teammate this weekend, so it's all changed for him. But again, he's up towards the sharp end of the grid. None of those drivers on pole position. That's the crew in fifth place. Bas and Pasiewicz, the Polish duo, who are starting from pole position. Karol Basz shared last year's championship when he was driving with Vito Postiglione. They're in rival cars, both from the same team, down on the front row of the grid. But let's go down with Dakota. And she's down with the driver who'll be starting in the second car, Kiko Galbiati, the 44 Imperiale Racing.
Kiko, front line of the grid at a home race for you with a beautiful Lamborghini. Absolutely fantastic looking grid. Is it difficult to drive here in the nighttime?
Yeah, it's difficult because we have lights, but not all the track have a lot of lights, so it's very difficult. But it's very beautiful to race here. Only one night, and we will see.
Now Vito and you are one of Lamborghini's favourites, shall I say. Are you going to be able to have the results here when your teammate's starting in the first?
Yeah, of course. We want to win, and we hope that. We will fight until the end.
Is there any team orders between you and Pole?
No.
So we'll see how it happens.
Yeah, we will fight until the end.
Good luck, thank you.
So it's going to be interesting to see if his veteran teammate Vito Postiglione can be first into the first sequence of corners. And when I say sequence, turns 1, 2 and 3 come thick and fast and can often be a point of contact. But the two Imperiale racing cars on the front row of the grid. We're now just working our way from the mid-grid through. I said it's a busy old place down there. They've already started clearing the grid, but still plenty of people out there sucking up the atmosphere. Mind that door, Mike, because he rides through on his Segway, working his way up the order. So a whole new atmosphere down there under these floodlights. But it's interesting how Kiko Galbiati pointed out, yes, they're good, but they're not consistent. And I remember when they we decided night racing would be a good thing for the Singapore Grand Prix. The teams were so worried about the quality of the lighting, and it's been absolutely fantastic. And here on the start-finish straight, you can see just how bright it is. But we will see as the cars go out in a few minutes' time on their formation lap, where there are patches of darkness. So we're up at the back of the front row of the grid because Dakota's moved down the grid with Bartosz Pasiewicz. His teammate will be starting from pole.
Bartosz, this is going to be really interesting here. You guys are both on the front line of the grid. I asked Kiko before if there was any team orders about who's going to be going first into turn 1, but I suppose that would be you that you're on pole, right?
I don't know what to say. It's second race for me in Lamborghini, and second one it's pole position for us. Carol's do amazing job. His lap was really fast. I enjoyed the race and see you on the podium, I think.
Ooh, have you ever done a night race?
Yes, 1 year ago in Audi R8.
And? Do you like the night?
Yeah, I like, but the race was really bad for me.
Keep your eyes open for this one. Good luck. Thank you.
So just to point out, the vast majority of the cars have two drivers. There'll be the mandatory pit stop in the middle of the race. So Bartosz Pasiewicz stepping up from the Audi R8 This was cut last year, but Karol Basz, last year's co-champion with the driver who's starting alongside him, Vito Postiglione. Really good result for him in qualifying. He was clear by, get this, an entire second ahead of Postiglione. It was a super lap from the Polish star. And look back at his history when he was in karting. There wasn't very much that he did not win. So Karol Bash, an absolute star, converting to cars with ease, and clearly his teammate really stepping up to the mark as well, very well indeed. Bartosz Pasiewski, fellow Pole, making the climb. Not everybody makes it look so easy, but a good job done so far. Now riding back, looking down the grid, Conrad Motorsport. This is row 3. Vincent Schwartz will be starting number 11 on the left. Car on the right from Lippert Motorsport, Niels Lagrange. But it's time to go down to Joy Dakota with Stuart Middleton, one of the co-championship leaders.
Stuart, you look a little bit nervous. Are you concerned about anything, or are you just ready to get on with the race?
Nah, I'm not nervous. I'm just ready to get crack on, really. Want to get underway and yeah, see what we can do in this race. For sure, I'm pretty confident. You know, looking off quality results, yeah, we've got a lot more pace in it. Both of us were blocked, so yeah, for sure, I think we're pretty confident going into it.
You and Jack were really quick the last race at Silverstone. Can you be quick again here, or do you need a bit of work?
Well, it's always hard to say really until you're in it, but yeah, judging off what our paces went like through practice and stuff, yeah, I think we'll be all right. But you know, we'll see what happens.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thanks.
Very understated delivery from the young British driver, but he's one of drivers who makes things look easy. Finished second in the GT4 series last year, and but for a fire, could have been champion. And he's really stepping up to more serious motor racing every year. Took victory in the first of 2 races at Silverstone with his teammate Jack Bartholomew. There is Jack on board the number 32 Bonaldi Motorsport entry. But let's ride down from the front. There's the bit of the Lamborghini era, so quick, that Lamborghini SUV. And let's ride down between the 2 bright green Imperiale Racing cars on the front row. Karol Bash on pole position on the left of screen. Vito Postiglione, his veteran rival and former teammate, on the outside of the front row. That's the side by the pit wall. In come the graphics to highlight those 2 bright green cars. Now we're starting to see the cars with fewer people in the way. Nice dress on the right of the grid, so people really do dress up to come to their racing in Italy, which I like. I think it's great. Then Danny Cruz will be starting. It's all Imperiale on the front row, all Bonaldi on the second row. Jack Bartholomew, we heard from his teammate Stuart Middleton just now, will be starting that number 32 car. So Bartholomew kicking off. Then Vincent Schwartz making great ground. Conrad Motorsport, that's the black and turquoise car on the left of screen. Lippert Motorsport, Niels Lagrange on the right. 5th and 6th on this grid. But just to point out, Karol Bash's lap was a full second quicker than the best of the rest. Piero Necchi, here is a name from the past. 67 years old, former front runner in Formula 3 in the late 70s, ended Formula 2 in the 80s. Great to have him still racing. And Joseph Zaruba on the outside of row number 4. Davide Banditi, he's sharing with a new teammate this weekend. Jonathan Cecotto coming back to play in Lamborghinis. And the top car in the AM class is Raffaele Giannoni. He'll be starting from 10th position. Gregor Moszkulski and Cyril Lima, one of these. So I knew if I said Cyril, it'd be Cedric. That's Cedric Lima. 2 Limas coming to play. And Sergio Pianizzolo, another driver with a distant history, competed in 1994. Get it, 1994 Monte Carlo Rally. And now he's really a big aficionado of GT racing. So great to have him spreading his wings. He's racing for Iron Lynx Racing this season. Spread of nationalities, Robert Zwinger here on the right-hand side of the grid. Car number 99, hailing from Slovakia, Mikko Escalane, and he goes very well in the Asian series of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Plenty of experience for the young Finn. Nicholas Gomar, always a front runner in the AM class. Then in the Lamborghini Cup class, LC on the right-hand side of the screen, it's Benoit Semelin, races with his brother Francois. They're 20th on the grid. The grid keeps on going. We will have 27 cars in all. Estonian racer Thomas Padovani, Oliver Frameth from Germany in the 21st and 22nd positions. Gerard van der Horst, such a supporter of the championship in the Lamborghini Cup class. Jose Collado, 24th on the grid. Hans Fabry on the left in 25th. 26th, Superchai Weerabor Wanpong, not always running off the tongue easily. And finally, Kurt Wagner starting for Mikonek Motorsport, team stepping up to the championship this year. All on his own at the back, but there'll be plenty of company as he rattles off down towards turn 1 on the opening lap. And when we get to ride around the circuit, we'll see just how much light there is from the great big floodlights. We can see them shining down on the front of the grid, but let's see what happens as they go off into the darkness. And certainly looking from my commentary position, I can see lights are plenty around the circuit, but clearly some patches will be darker than others. Front row, we've got onboard camera Vito Postiglione outside of the front row, so we can see TV shots from him. Will he have anybody in front of him? Will his teammate get away first when they come to the rolling start? Certainly Karel Bass leading those two green Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracans down to the first corner. Last car on the grid underway, Kurt Wagner at the wheel. He's sharing that with Libor Drodacek, yet another driver deciding he wants to come and play in Lamborghinis, and certainly great cars, brilliant racing in this championship, and something rather different with this night race, and it's great to provide as much variety as you possibly can. Some of the drivers getting a little bit bunched up at turn 4, having to go out beyond the curb, so you can see little bits of rubber left by the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe race that we had just before. A little supper break for the crews around the circuit, and in the interest of being social, we're back racing again. So the formation lap, this race pegged for 50 minutes. Yes, you can certainly see as the field comes down to turn 8. Kink straight, the infield straight, that's turn 7, just under the Blancpain livery bridge. Karel Bass leading them around, superstar in karting, and he's made very quick work of getting to the front end. Last year's European Lamborghini Super Trofeo champion sharing with Vito Postiglione. They're in different cars this year, sharing the front row. Did a bit of Italian GT in 2017 and was second, yes, second in the World Karting Championships in 2016. This is a driver of prodigious talent. Can the rest get close to him? Qualifying was a little bit stop-start, but to be a second clear in a one-make series is a phenomenal achievement. And in turn for his teammate Bartosz Pasiewicki. He knows there's a certain pressure coming, because if a brilliant job is done by Karel Bass, he's not going to have to match it, but he's got to make sure he doesn't drop it. And will victory be theirs? We will find out. Just looked at car number 21 there in the gloom out around the circuit. The GT3 Poland car, Gregor Moszkurski, showing with Italian racer Luca De Marchi. So for those who are not starting, they have to watch it all from the pit garages. We're 2/3 the way around this, the formation lap. Now looking on board from the car, starting from the pit wall side, the outside of the front row. To a second on the grid, Vito Postiglione going through turn 15, accelerating, braking, accelerating, cannot be first around the corner. You're going to come around the corner, look for the lights on the starting gantry, they will be red. They have to turn to green. Field should be in 2x2 formation, 13.5 rows, 27 cars ready for the racing action. Last ones in the field just going through turn 15. 16 turns in all. It's the sharp left onto the start-finish straight. This will be the only time they take it at low speed. Vito Postiglione second, but the driver on pole position, the side away from the pit wall, is Karel Bass. Let's take a look at the lights on the gantry. We have the sets of 5 red lights, 2 sets of 5 red lights, waiting for them to go green. There'll be a longish hold, I would suggest, and they're underway, waiting for the lights to go, but well, to my ear, the engines were revving absolutely fully, but it's the Imperiale Racing cars away from the front row, looking for the challenge behind. First race I've had to do here with the headlights on this evening, and Karel Bass gets it right from pole position. Vito Postiglione, oh, we've had a spinner from about 8th place. Has everybody else avoided him? Yes, somehow they have. I'll work out who the former is in a minute, but the first two getting away in grid formation. Karel Bass ahead of Vito Postiglione, Danny Kroos in 3rd place. Might need to take a replay of the start to see who went round. Very, very frustrating, but almost inevitable here at Misano World Circuit. Such a tight first and second corner combination. And it was Piero Necchi, the 67-year-old, the driver with great single history back a very long time ago, the late 1970s, early 1980s. He's been given a tag, most unfair, and he had a very strong teammate as well, waiting to take over. Loris Spinelli, one of the stars in Lamborghinis in the last few years. But out front, it's those Imperiale Racing cars, the duo that started on the front row. Karel Bass from Vito Postiglione. Axel Jeffries gained a position on the opening lap. Jack Bartholomew there or thereabouts, but the Imperiale cars, the green ones, making good their escape, running very wide behind them. That was, I think, Danny Kroos. Jack Bartholomew's dropped a position. He's down into 5th, having started in 4th place. Generally tidy, generally the number 8, always the number 8 so far in the lead of the race. It's not going to even be half a second advantage, I wouldn't think, over his teammate Vito Postiglione. Totally different feel to the race here. After night has fallen, it's cooler, thank goodness. 0.7 of a second is the gap first to second. Karel Bass to his teammate Vito Postiglione. Danny Kroos in third, Vincent Schwartz in fourth, Jack Bartholomew fifth, and Joseph Saruba completing the top 6 runners. Top car in the Pro-Am class, sorry, the Am class is up ahead of all the Pro-Am runners, and that's a really good start from Raffaele Gialloni, up into 8th place overall. Of course, just around the points of the front runner in Pro-Am on the grid was the one who went for that spin, Piero Necchi. So he was the one that was caught out. Everybody else gained. We've got a car pulled off at the side of the circuit, just saw out the corner of my eye, but it's not one of the first two. And Karol Bash, 7/10 of a second clear at the start of the end of the opening lap. It looks like he's stretching away. He's gained a 2/10 advantage. 2/10 of a second advantage in the first part of the 3 parts of the second lap. So yes, that gap is going out, and as soon as he does that, a fight back from Vito Castiglioni in the second of the 3 sectors. Danny Kroos holding down third place, starting third for Benaldi Motorsport, still third right now. Totally different feel for the racing. 50 minutes, a race with a pit stop in the middle, and car number 8 looking fairly peerless. Actually, he's only gained about 1/10 of a second, I think, this time around, but it's the gap behind them that's important. It's going out all the time. What's the gap for? He's gained 4/10 of a second, actually. He's 1.1 seconds clear now, as you can see from the graphic. Danny Kroos doing a good job in third place. Axel Jeffries, the racers from Zimbabwe, up into 4th place overall. Jack Bartholomew trying his best to fight back, but he's 2 seconds back and going the wrong way, backwards rather than forwards. So the best place of the cars in the various classes below the overall class. Raffaele Giannoni leading the Am class, 8th overall, 1 position ahead of Luca Di Marchi, who started to make progress in the number 21 GT3 Poland car he's sharing with Grzegorz Moczowski. Does tend to be that around the corners, that's turn 9 turning into turn 10, you can just about make out the dark trees, the conifers on the outside of the corner, but what you can see through Vito Castiglioni's windscreen is the fact that number 8, his teammate Karol Bash, is getting smaller down the straight. Of course, he will get be smaller, he'll be the first one of those onto the power, but the first sector of the lap, 1/10 of a second gain by the race leader. Second sector of the lap, another 1/4 of a second, so that's a 1/3 of a second gained in the first part of the lap. Now they're down at turn 14 out of 16, the left-hand kink at turn 15. You can see it from Castiglioni's point of view. Karol Bash up ahead into that tight final corner, 90 degrees to the left. The rumble of the leading cars. Karol Bash, Vito Castiglioni for Imperiale Racing. The gap was just waiting for it to click up. It was 1.15 seconds, 1.68, half a second gained on the second flying lap. Well, the third flying lap, of course, they had the rolling start, so it wasn't a standing start. Conrad Motorsport pushing on down there, car number 11, Axel Jeffries, gained that position on the opening lap. Axel Jeffries showing with Vincent Schwartz. And doing a very good job. Great, and I'd like to see the glowing brake discs. Braking hard for turn 4. If you don't brake, you go straight on. There's not much space on the outside of the circuit. Braking is the order of the day. Car 32 just had a glance there, that was Jack Bartholomew. Here's the car in third place for Benaldi Motorsport. Danny Kroos sharing with Russian racer Sergei Afanasiev. And if you look up and down the grid, so many cosmopolitan pairings. Danny Kroos from the Netherlands, Afanasiev from Russia. Axel Jeffries, number 11, he'll be handing over to his teammate Vincent Schwartz. Axel, much more experience in the world of Lamborghini racing. And putting on a very good show. Jack Bartholomew, good kart racer, been in Lamborghinis for a few seasons now. Won the opening race of the pair at Silverstone, showing with Stuart Middleton. Second race was won by Karol Bash and Bartosz Paszczewski, and they're the drivers, or their car is the one at the front of the race. Let's see, the gap is going out with every single lap. 1.1 seconds became 1.6, and they've just crossed the start-finish line. Heads out to 2.3 seconds. The advantage is gaining with every lap. The increment is increasing with every lap. There is the driver waiting to take over the leading car, not for some while yet, because Karol Bash is doing an astonishingly good job. It's very rare in the Super Trofeo races to find, particularly in the European Championship, to find a driver who is able to find an advantage like this. But Carol Bash made it look easy in qualifying and is certainly putting on a really, really fabulous performance in the first part of this race. AM class leader, ahead of even the best of the Pro-Am, so really, really good run here from Raffaele Giannoni. 8th overall. And the best of the Pro-Am runners is now 2 positions further back, because Davide Venditti is starting to make progress in the number 9 up into 9th place. That's entered by, there's Raffaele Giannoni, car 96. He's got a bit of company. Well, he gets some when he rejoins the circuit, but 2 of the 3 cars behind him also ran wide out of turn 8, up through the kink at turn 9, a little bit tidier for all of them. But it's about getting the cars in line so you can get the power down ASAP as soon as possible onto the long kink back straight, and I think we're about to see a place change there as well. Again, hard to pick them out as the headlights come down through the kink at turn 11, through the kink at turn 12. That's 96, that's Raffaele Giannoni. Expect him to be passed by Davide Venditti, but for now, still there. Luca De Marchi in behind in that number 21 entry, leading the Pro-Am class, but it's getting busy down there. Davide Venditti, I think, has pulled off that manoeuvre. As you'd expect, Venditti, so much experience in Lamborghini racing. Again and again over the curb and beyond out of turn 16, but they're keeping it fairly sensible. Gap between first and second out to 2.8 seconds now. Another half-second gain. It seems every lap half a second gain by Carol Bash over the chasing Vito Pistiglione. Mistake there from Raffaele Giannoni. And trying to get in the mix is Massimo Mantovani, another driver deep into his 60s. We lost Piero Necchi on the opening lap, the 67-year-old Massimo Mantovani, a spring chicken, a mere 66. Great to have drivers with that number at the front of their decade, the 260 drivers in their 60s, bringing a lot of experience, and most notably Piero Necchi, but I'm sure he'll be back in race 2 right now, out of the race in race 1. Picking out the groups around the circuit, it's starting to string out a bit at the front after with this masterclass from Carol Bash, car 21. Still in the mix, he's leading the Pro-Am class, down in 10th place, lost that position. That's Luca De Marchi. Now he's into 9th. No, I think he's actually, well, he's maybe just gained a place on Giannoni, we will see. But 21 was hunting down Giannoni, and I think has got ahead of the 96 car. Yes, he has. Certainly you realise that on the grid, Kiko Galbiati was saying there are pools of light. There are parts where it's very bright and others where it's much, much harder to pick out the numbers on the side of the car, to pick out indeed even the colours of the car as they come past like silhouettes. '66 making decent progress, Joseph Zaruba. He'll be handing his Mikonek Motorsports entry. Started 8th, so he's done well to gain those 2 positions. He'll hand that over to Jacob Knoll in the second pass of the race. And again, racing in the night is a real experience for a lot of these drivers. Those who did this event last year, of course, would have tried it. Some would have taken part in races like the Spa 24 Hours and done night racing, but for so many of them, it's a novel experience. Learn the track during the day, go out and race in the night. Now, whenever you look at glowing brake discs, you think, isn't that wonderful? Have you ever wondered how hot they are? I've just heard word from the pits that when they're glowing at that sort of thing, the temperatures they've been measuring, 600 degrees, don't touch them, guys. And of course, during races, when you see brake changes in endurance racing, no wonder the mechanics are wearing gloves. But that is truly spectacular in the night. Wonderful to catch up with that, literally on fire. Fabulous. Of course, they don't have to make them last terribly long. 50 minutes through this race. They get to cool down very, very slightly when they come into the pit stop, but then they're at a standstill, so they heat up all over again, even when they're not being worked. Carol Bash, let's call it 4 seconds clear, 3.999 seconds, and then there's a gap of 6.5 seconds back to Danny Kroos in 3rd place overall. So Imperiale Racing had 2 cars on the front row of the grid. They're still at the front, and one of the 2 Benaldi Motorsport cars is in 3rd. And the other one from the outside of the 2nd row has fallen back 1 position to 5th, with Axel Jeffries in between them for Conrad Motorsport. Good standard of driving here. They're clearly adapting to the floodlights out around the circuit, and they're looking at the number 66 of Joseph Saruba, going from light to dark to light again now, car number 30. And that is the Life at Motorsport car. Anthony Lambert starting. I thought it was meant to be Neil Lagrange, but some of the drivers chop and change. Oh dear, off the circuit, just as I looked away from the screen. When you want to go out and avoid the gravel trap, his brakes, maybe we saw those glowing in the night. Maybe they simply were glowing too hot and failed, because that's a very unusual way. You can see from the wheel marks through the gravel, he's just gone straight across the gravel trap, square on into the tyre wall on the outside. Let's take a look. Coming down, oh, you can see the sparks, the whole thing has gone, and then kaboom, flames out of the back. That is super spectacular. Down to the edge and not beyond. The tower barrier is doing what they need to do, but strike one from the race. Safety car out onto the circuit. 50-minute race, we have 13 minutes remaining. Those brakes, we thought they were spectacular. Maybe that was 601 degrees. We heard they could run to 600, but they were glowing, they were sparking, they were flaming, and then it was just simply all too much. And for Joseph Saruba, running in that 6th place, hugely frustrating. He's got out of the car, walking away, helmet off, frustration. You know, when there's nothing more you can do for the car. It's still flaming at the back, the side against the tyres appears to be flaming away somewhat. Certainly you can see the glowing and the flickering. Now, lap before, we've seen this car sparking those front brakes for several laps. This is the lap before. Next time down to that very corner is where it all went wrong. So the safety car is slowing the field down, or they will gather behind it. So just to bear in mind, it was a 4-second advantage Carol Bash had in the lead of the race. Rescue vehicle very quickly in place on the outside of turn 8. The car's facing the opposite direction of the way it wanted to be facing, and it's cleared the enormously deep gravel trap, about 30 metres of gravel before you get to that little fringe of grass and then the tyre wall. And there's the safety car, Lamborghini, of course, at the front of this Lamborghini field. So for Carol Bash, who was leading the race, his advantage was 4 seconds over the driver through whose windscreen we are seeing him. Vito Postiglione, his teammate, is going to be given another chance at taking a crack at the race leader. Had a little look at the start, but Carol Bash was just slightly faster away at the outset of the race. And then with every lap, it seemed another half second, or maybe 0.6 of a second even was gained by the Polish racer Carol Bash to stretch that advantage. But behind the safety car, of course, it will come down to a few car lengths. And then, of course, for a lot of these teams, they'll start considering their pit window and when it's going to open. But the safety car's going to lead them around for a while yet. But already that rescue vehicle is, I'm just trying to see, I can make it out in the dark, but I can't see if it's managed to move the stricken number 66, the entry from Mikonek Motorsports. Joseph Saruba, driver who ended up with no ability to take the hairpin at turn 8, straight on across the gravel. Brakes alight, particularly on the front end of the car. So a dramatic moment, made all the more dramatic by being after nightfall. The rescue vehicle is moving and it's towing away from the back of the gravel bed. Now we're going to have another look at the replay of the 66 car's demise. Flaming, look for a bit of debris firing away from the car. I understand it knocks down the marker board. That's like hitting the bullseye in darts out of your side window while travelling at an enormous speed, but clearly no retardation at all. Brilliant bit of camera work, great replay there. Flaming front and back. It looked worse at the back because that was the brake lights on, doing very little for Joseph Saruba as he went sideways through the gravel. He's out of the car is out of the gravel bed. The rescue vehicle has gone, well, he's gone to park him on the exit of turn 8, but over on the infield. Should be able to tuck him behind a barrier on that run up towards turn 9, so maybe not too long until the safety. It'll be reported to the stewards that it's and the clerk of the course to the car is in a safe position. It isn't yet. It's beyond the enormous horseshoe-shaped gravel bed. Towed it one way out of the gravel bed. Now it's towing it another to find a place of safety. 50-minute race, the clock counting down. Imperiale Racing started on the front row. They're still first and second, but Carol Bass had made good his escape. He was 4 seconds clear and adding literally with every corner as he pulled away from Vito Postiglione. But of course Postiglione under the safety car period has closed right on his tail. So the two bright green cars from Imperiale Racing, nerves on the pit wall. There's Bartosz Pasiewski, who'll be taking over the lead car. Still waiting for any signal on the screen, any indication. Yes, we have it. Safety car in this lap. The noise is about to suddenly go through the roof. The partying still going on the roof of the pit building, but there's the message. Safety car in this lap. All eyes on the track. Certainly Karol Basz will be taking the message from his crew, and so will his teammate running behind him. So are they going to behave beautifully down to turn one when the field is released? Look how close they are. Tucked in behind, Danny Kroes, the Dutch racer. Axel Jeffries for Conrad Motorsport, fourth in line, waiting for the signal. The lights are out on the safety car. That will peel in before out of turn 15. 16 turns on this lap, and as they go through turn 16, Karol Basz no doubt will already have the throttle to the floor, will be accelerating, hoping to drop Vito Postiglione, but Vito's been round the blocks many times, and as long as his night sight is still good, he is there to go. He can't go before the car in front, but he can stay as close as he possibly can. It's a guessing game. Karol Basz almost at walking pace out of turn 15. How big is the gap going to be? He's holding it. No, not going yet. Oh, it's cat and mouse stuff, cat and mouse. Danny Kroes is waiting as they go into the corner, almost a touch, and now he goes. He's waited for the very second. Vito Postiglione got within a centimetre of his rear bumper, and he's gained a car length advantage. Very clever play by Karol Basz there. Not just quick at the wheel, but quick thinking too. And in behind Conrad Motorsport, Axel Jeffries was having a little look, see if he can gain a position, but in fact he was being attacked by Jack Bartholomew. But the order of the top six stays as it was, and the car that had been running six is the one that was out of the race. Joseph Sarupa with those flaming and failing brakes going off at turn number 8. The safety car period is at an end. 31 minutes of this race remains. Looking very good indeed for Imperiale Racing. Will they take a 1-2? Or Danny Kroes, what can he do for Benaldi Motorsport? He's running third in number 3. Such a good restart from Karol Basz. He's about half a second clear as they get down to turn 8 for the first time. He negotiates the corner, does it with more vitesse on the exit than the chasing teammate Postiglione, fighting down the order in the battling there. Car number 34, one of the two Iron Lynx Lamborghinis. And that should be Federico Paolini, who is sharing the car this weekend. In fact, it's his teammate Massimo Mantovani. They put the older driver in first. Massimo, 66 years young. Really good night vision for a driver of his age. Car number 9, Davide Banditi sharing with Jonathan Cecotto, working his way bit by bit up the grid order. Started from 9th and is now up into 7th position. Has got ahead of Luca De Marchi, who is the leading runner in 21, which is running in the Pro-Am class. Who needs to stay on the track? Axel Jeffries very wide, and the car running in 6th place. I think that's car number 30 bouncing over the curbs. Anthony Lambert, I think they might get a big warning for that. Those are definitely outside the track limits, but for Axel Jeffries, well, stays near the track. There's Davide Banditi in the black car on a black night here at Misano, but pit window is open on the half-hour mark, and in comes number 19. That was one of the first cars to make a pit visit. That's a Lima car, but it's not Cedric. It's the one who started further back. It's Cyril who started his auto vitesse entry from the 10th row. Very few of the front runners have considered the pits. In fact, only Cyril Liner, Superchai Weeraborwanpon, and Mikko Eskelinen. And for the rest, these should get out before it gets too busy. And then next time around, I think we're going to have a sudden flurry. But for Karol Basz, after that restart, he's already nearly 1.3 seconds clear, building on it with every sector of the circuit. So dominated this first sector of the race. He will stay out as long as he possibly can. He'll make his pit stop. Yeah, look at the angle he's putting that car at. He's just bouncing around the track, carrying as much speed as he dares. There at turn 13, lots of drivers have been running wide. They just managed to haul it down for turn 14. And the left-hand kink at turn 15. Nothing Vito Postiglione can do about his incredibly quick Polish teammate. And Postiglione says enough is enough. He comes in from second place. Remember, he was 1.3 seconds down at the end of the previous lap. Lost a little bit of ground, so it could have been out close to 2 seconds, but he's decided He's coming in to hand over to Kiko Galbiati. We heard from Kiko before the race. He's quite keen on victory, and if he matches up very well indeed in comparison to Bartosz Pachewski, who's going to take over the race-leading car, number 8, then he could be in with a shout. It's going to be a busy pit lane now. Stop on the mark, if you please. That will do. Beautifully bang on. All that experience of Vito Postiglione, quick in the car and quick at getting out of the car. So here's our camera car. Started second, stays second. Driver's a different stature there. Certainly looks as though Kiko Galbiati a little bit taller than Vito Postiglione. Adjusting the steering wheel, all good to go. But of course, minimum time at the pit stop, so it's for safety. You don't need as many mechanics. You've got a minimum time. You don't need so many people. Check everything is fine. Check those pressures at the front end. You can certainly today it's now cooling down. It's been dark for half an hour now on what has been a very hot day here at Misano. The lollipop flips around, just waiting for that pit stop time, ready to go, but can't until you've reached the minimum pit stop time. From pit in to pit out, teams working it out and waving through the window. The driver who's just taken over, Kiko Galbiati. Don't know if there's a problem, just keen to get going. Oh dearie me, rejoin from the pits and go for a spin. A bit of a flame out there. These things can happen in the night. You're quite unsighted coming out. You rejoin the track at turn 3. 79, they're sitting at a standstill in the pit lane. Jose Calado. Haven't seen much of 71 in the race. That's Super Chaiwira Borwon. He started from penultimate row of the grid, but he was one of the first few cars to come in and make that stop. Again, glowing brake discs as we look at the Conrad Motorsport car. Axel Jeffries now up into second place because Karel Bash is in from the lead. Beautifully caught by the camera crews. One Polish driver out, one Polish driver in. Don't forget, don't have to rush too much. Check your tyre pressures, still critical. But Karel Bash, not one, but 2 really, really good stints for him. With the safety car period interrupting, but every time it wasn't on the track, he was pulling clear of the 44, the sister car from Imperiale Racing. Bats getting back up to racing speed, going through turn 8 with the second driver, Kiko Galbiati, at the wheel. But surely, bar an absolute tumble in the pit lane, we will have the number 8 sister car with Bartosz Pachewski coming back out into the lead of the race after its pit stop. See all the tyre debris out around the circuit, picked up by the headlights and by the floodlighting over the circuit. Pressing on, Kiko Galbiati knowing he has to give his absolute everything if he's going to close what was a 2.5 second advantage near enough before the second of the cars came in. The car that was leading the race, this one, Karel Bash, handing over to Bartosz Pachewski. The signal is done. They were in the last pit garage. Great one to have. You can accelerate in a straight line, stay below the speed limit, but you're not jinking around anything. So that's already left the entrance, the exit of the pit lane, but not yet onto the circuit, as accelerating down the start-finish straight, but with turns 1 and 2 to negotiate before it gets towards pit exit. Can't see the car exiting yet, don't expect it. Now it's going to come out from behind the barriers. It will be in front. Wait for the flash of green behind. Kiko Galbiati, don't forget, 2.5 seconds between them. It looks so it's still very much that same margin. Here is Galbiati in second place. No advantage gained by pitting a lap earlier, so it seems. In fact, if anything, I'd say the extra lap that Karel Bash did was very good indeed. And Kiko Galbiati's just made a mistake. You're supposed to be having a hunt, but you're the one that's got it wrong. So that's unfortunate. Now he's got to calm down. He's got 24.5 minutes to get it right. Car number 89 still at a standstill. That's Nicholas Gomar. Racing as always for the AGS events. The AGS events banner. That's the gap, first to second. The order is as it was before the pit stops. When I say first and second, we're waiting. That's actually Danny Kroos from Axel Jeffries. Wait at one. And there come those who've already made their pit stops. 44 running around. So still some of the front runners owe us pit stops, but the cars that were first and second back out on the circuit in the same order. With 8 that started on pole, ahead of 44 that started from the outside of the front row. But this time it's Bartosz Pachewski ahead of Kiko Galbiati. Again, the glowing brake discs out of turn number 16, the final corner. Let's see what the gap is between the pair of them. It's looking a little bit better for Kiko Galbiati. He's 2.2 seconds down, so he's actually gained a very slight bit on that that lap on the race leader, the overall effective race leader, once everyone's made their pit stops. But Danny Croce is still out there. Pit window is still open. He's leading the race. He started third. He's running third in number 3. But he's going to have to hand it over soon. He's going to have to hand it over to Sergei Afanasiev. Vast majority, 80% of the runners, if not slightly higher percentage, have made their pit stops and rejoined the fray. Pit window is still open. Danny Croce still out on the circuit, leading the race in the number 3 Benaldi Motorsport entry. Enjoying himself so much, he's running as deep into the race as he can before handing over to Sergei Afanasiev. Conrad Motorsport car, Axel Jeffries handing that over to Vincent Schwartz. But it's the Imperiale cars leading the way once this number 3 Benaldi Motorsport car makes its pit stop, and pushing very much the body language. I'm going to have a flying in-lap. Danny Croce bouncing around out on the circuit, bound to come in surely this time around in the number 3. Swinging through turn 15 there, and now he dives in. Left it as late as he possibly could, handing over to his teammate Sergei Afanasiev. Popping and banging as it enters the pit lane. Knocks it down to the speed limiter. And what we're having, Kiko Galbiati, while we look at the pit stops, is really taking chunks out of Bartosz Paszczewski. So when everybody's made the pit stop, they'll be first and second, but the gap was 2.5 seconds after the pit stop. It's now down to 1.3 seconds, coming down all the time. 21 minutes remaining. You'd say Paszczewski, who took really good debut in the opening round, but he's going to have to fight like crazy if he's going to make it 2 wins from 3 starts. A 5th in the opening race at Silverstone, victory with his teammate Karel Basch in the second one, leading here, but his pace isn't as good as the chasing Kiko Galbiati. So it could be Galbiati and Postiglione who end up on the top step of the podium. Yeah, literally the last runner to be strapped into the car to go out right at the end of the pit window period. Number 3, Danny Croce out of the car. Sergei Afanasiev, his Russian teammate, on board. The gap, as I said, is coming down. First to second, 20 minutes remaining. 44, hunting 8. He was trying to do that in the first part of the race, or it was in the hands of Vito Postiglione, but Karel Basch, driving the pole starting number 8, was ever pulling clear. Lost all that time, a 4-second advantage when the safety car was out, but bossed the restart, opened out an advantage all over again. And I think that's the last of the runners. Benaldi Motorsport number 3 coming back out of the pit lane, but it's a long pit exit. How good were his laps? It always seems at this point as though surely the car leaving the pits, we've seen leaving the pits, will be out of pit exit, but it's a really long curving pit exit. There is the car. You can just about pick it over the white top of the barriers. He's still got a long way to go before he can release the throttle. The white line is just when he passes the orange end of the barriers. Looks as though he might come out in front. Of course, the stopwatches were telling us that wasn't going to be the case. The 2 Imperiale cars with 20 minutes on the clock, sweeping through first and second. And what's the gap between them? Let's quickly look at the screens and tell you exactly what it is. Down to 0.7 of a second. Here's Sergei Afanasiev just getting up to speed at number 3. Got back into that 3rd place, but it's Paszczewski ahead of Galbiati. Still those 2 green cars first and second, but look how the gap is coming down. Turn 8, left-hand hairpin. And in the chasing car, Kiko Galbiati even able to take a tighter line and not lose ground. This is the battle for the lead of the race. Hopefully we'll run untrammeled to the very finish, but the far less experienced Bartosz Paszczewski is going to have to race the race of his life here in the dark at Misano to see if he can hang on at the front of the field to make it 2 wins from 3 starts. But teammate Kiko Galbiati really looked pretty confident before the start of the race, and right now he should be incredibly confident as he hunts down his teammate. Riding on board the 2nd place car. I think he's going to get in even closer. Then he's going to start probing to the left, probing to the right. Time aplenty for them to catch the tail enders in the field. So at the moment, no assistant for Kiko Galbiati. But he could get some later in the race. Car number 77 has gone for rotation. Stephen Licorice didn't spin, apparently just pulled off. British racer sharing with Thomas Padovani, running in the AM class for Artline Team Georgia, running no more. 0.709 of a second, the gap between first and second. I think Galbiati has found another 10th or so Then you get into that difficult period, just half a second down, all the air being taken off the front of your car if you're getting close. Right now, I think it's a bit of a waiting game, if anything, from Galbiati. Knowing he's got to keep the tyres sweet. Yes, the temperatures are falling from the lofty highs earlier today. It's cooling down almost by the minute here in the dark at Misano. Close. Not yet close enough to make a passing manoeuvre, make a bid for the lead of the race. So it's still the two green cars in the order 8 from 44 with their second drivers, Bartosz Paczewski and Kiko Galbiati. Track temperature, yes, it kicks. Start of the race, it was 30-something degrees now. On getting down to nearly 24 degrees. Humidity, though, rising as the temperature drops, but that happens, of course, at night. So those first two, well clear. I wanted to give you a margin back from second, which is Galbiati, the car that's taking us around the circuit, and Sergei Afanasiev, who had that very late takeover. His was the last pit stop. Took over the number 3 Benaldi Motorsport entry from Danny Kreusch. He's 6.9 seconds and he's 7 seconds behind Galbiati, so not in a position to challenge. And I think what we've seen is Bartosz Paczewski took over in the lead in the number 8, seems to have settled into it. As he said, he did one night race in the Audi series last year in a sort of junior coupe series, stepped up the power band this year, had a disaster in the dark last time around, didn't divulge why, but I think he's dialing himself in very nicely. Advantage is still, he's gained took it out from 0.7 to 0.76 of a second, his advantage, but I think he's settling into his stint, which is good news for the pole, bad news for the Italian Galbiati. He wanted to be taking chunks out of it, but now it seems almost status quo at the head of the field. Harold Schlegelmilch, 7th overall. He is leading his class, Artline Team Georgia, that's Pro-Am class. He's one position ahead of the 96, which has driven all race, one of the solo runners in the AM class, Raffaele Giannoni. So there they are, leading their classes, Pro-Am ahead of AM, and the Lamborghini Cup class is being led by Gerhard van der Horst in 16th overall, so he's having a good run, still on the lead lap. Galbiati now is starting to get a bit of traffic. Made the move and made it stick. It looks like he's biding his time. Then I was convinced Paczewski had it all under control. And then so done with plenty of power, aplomb, gusto, whatever you want to call it. And it's double or quits after nightfall. So now Paczewski, just as I thought he was getting confident, getting settled, bit of traffic, and the moment was seized with alacrity. Don't need a second invitation, but no sooner as that happens, big twitch. So down the back straight, it looked so the mistake was made. What happened there to his teammate? His teammate missed a gear or something, because a very messy exit, the last thing you want to have for the exit of turn 10, because you've got the long kink back straight to follow, and there was enough of an advantage for Paczewski, and it's like there was a misgear or something most untoward. So can Paczewski fight back? He seemed to have it under control. Most extraordinary circumstance. Was he hearing voices, seeing lights? We don't know, but let's see, can the Pole fight back to the Italian? Well, it'll be very interesting after the race if we get to hear from him to see what happened there, because that was an extraordinary thing. He had the better exit speed onto the back straight, and he was the one that suddenly had a hiccup, and his car in an instant was demoted to second place. Paczewski probably with a furrowed brow at the moment, unless he knows what went wrong. So Imperiale Racing have been first and second all race, and there was the change for positions. This is a replay. So brake lights suddenly go on. Which pedal would you like? Not that one, I'd suggest, but Kiko Galbiati's replacement. Of course, Kiko Galbiati must have been thinking, thank you very much indeed. We need explanation of that. But don't look a gift horse in the mouth. And into the lead and possibly towards victory. 14 minutes remaining in this 50-minute encounter. Tomorrow's race, of course, will be held in different conditions. The starting driver today will be the finishing driver tomorrow. It will be in daylight. It will be on hotter circuit. So just looking at that, we're having to surmise why he might have been doing that. Was there a problem for the brakes for Paczewski as he went into the hairpin at turn 10? He must have lost faith in them, because he had maybe a little bit of a moment. Then he double dabbed them on the exit of the corner, but of course tampering with all the acceleration down the back straight, and Bartosz Paczewski is suddenly back in second place. Look at his lap times last time around. Yeah, 0.4 of a second slower than Kiko Galbiati. Maybe he's used those brakes very hard indeed. Don't forget, we saw Joseph Zaruba have his brakes effectively explode under him down into turn 8. They've been glowing and spitting flame for several laps. So maybe hot day, hot evening. Yes, it's getting cooler, but the brakes absolutely critical. Safety car procedure, I notice, is under investigation. So maybe someone has had a little bit of a procedural issue right now. 32 and 12 having a good old battle. That's Stuart Middleton. We heard from him before the start of the race, talking to Dakota. He is in 6th place, and in behind Harold Schlegelmilch. Harold seems to have been racing Lamborghini Huracan since almost before they were invented, but really having a great run here as he moves ever further up the order. 7th place in the Pro-Am class. And in fact, he was before the Huracan days, the racer. Schlegelmilch started his career really in Formula 3, ran for years in Germany, but yeah, Lamborghini man now through and through. I'm still learning to adjust the fact the car he races for Artline Team Georgia isn't the bright green cars, now the Imperiale Racing ones, and metallic blue this year for Artline Team Georgia, and being used to very good effect by Harold Schlegelmilch, racer from Latvia. Hunting down Stuart Middleton, but as I said, Stuart Middleton was racing GT4 last year and the year before, up the power band and settling in very nicely. Shared victory in the opening race of the season at Silverstone with Jack Bartholomew, running in 6th, started 4th, so they probably won't be that pleased with that. They've got to hang on to that 6th position because they're being hunted all the time by Harold Schlegelmilch there. 1st to 2nd, keeping an eye on the gap, 1.2 seconds. Paczewski, is he starting to come back? But look, the clock at the top of the screen continues to have a smaller number, 11.5 minutes remaining. And that's the battle for 4th place. Niels Lagrange in number 30 and Jonathan Cecotto. Great racer, really good Lamborghini history, the 2nd generation racer. Entering the championship this weekend, didn't do the opening race at Silverstone. Also racing in the GT4 European Series here at Misano, so busy young man and having a very, very good run as they battle for 4th place overall. Steal advantage for Niels Lagrange, but a lot of pressure being applied on the Leipzig Motorsport racer. Looking inside, looking outside, almost looking beyond the outside there by Jonathan Cecotto. Turn 14 into the kink at 15, trying to line up the final corner. Lots of cars run wide over the curbing at 15. I think that was permissible from the two of them. How about turn 16? Oh, pretty much under control. The chaser, though, Jonathan Cecotto, using more of the curves and a little bit of what we call the beyond. Kiko Galbiati, a very good lap for him, a less good lap, 8.85 of a second gain. He's now 2 seconds clear and leading the race ahead of his teammate Bartosz Paczewski. But still, you have to be very, very impressive. Paczewski, first season of Lamborghini racing, and the fact he's able to operate at the very front end in the daylight and after nightfall shows that he's learning these cars very, very quickly indeed. Looking at number 9 there, Jonathan Cecotto, ahead of Stuart Middleton, as he was before, but he just set his fastest, no, he's not his fastest lap of the race, his fastest first sector time. Coming up on traffic, that's inside Superchai Weira Borwan Pog at turn 9. Accelerating away. Jonathan Cecotto, the only driver who's picking up the pace at this point in the race. For a lot of the others, their brakes are getting past their best, their tyres most notably past their best in this 50-minute race. Remarkably, a little incident in the race so far. Let's hope that's not commentator's curse. Certainly the racing is close in clusters. Oh, big switch there. All the work Jonathan Cecotto's done in the last 2 laps. He'll have to do all over again. Got his wheels, a couple of wheels out on the dirt, had to come off the power. And, well, let's see what he can get up to. But that's a bit of breathing space there for Niels Lagrange. First to second, 2 seconds now. It's staying fairly stable. Car number 19 will have a little time penalty at the end of the race, but it's only a fraction of the second. Car number 19, one of the 2 Auto Vitesse cars for the Limers, and that is Cyril's car. That won't really ostensibly change a whole deal. So here's the 88 down towards the tail of the field. That's Hans Fabry running one of the solo drivers. Looking for the light green cars of Imperiale Racing, the 44. Here it is, Kiko Galbiati racing very nicely indeed. 2 seconds clear. How's this lap gone for him? He's gained half a second in the first of the 3 sectors, so very, very nicely indeed. It was almost entirely dark at the start of the race. But let's have a look. Vito Pistiglione's teammates. Vito was champion last year, sharing with Carol Bash. Now it's the turn of their own teammates to take it through to the finish. Kiko Galbiati's got a bit of traffic up ahead of him. Should be able to pick that off because he's got that advantage of, well, it was 2 seconds at the start of the lap, coming up to the end of the lap, and it looks like he's let's see, the middle sector. Yeah, Baszczewski has really dropped away. It could be as much as about 3.5 seconds, the difference between first and second. Out onto another flying lap goes Kiko Galbiati, waiting for Baszczewski to come through. What's the interval? I said 3.5, 3.6. I'll take a pat on my own back for that. Good guesswork, I call it. Now a little bit of delay there going past the back marker for the race leader, but with 7 minutes on the clock, it's looking very good for the 44 Imperiale Racing car. Started on the outside of the front row in the hands of Vito Postiglione, but right now Kiko Galbiati having a really cracking run, pulling clear of the sister car, the number 8 car, now in the hands of Bartosz Paszczewski. Make it look very easy indeed. And having got past that back marker, it's now clear track ahead for the race leader. Goes down through turn 8, left-hander, then there's a right-hand kink coming up, and then to a corner that he'll hold in huge esteem, with fondness, turn 10. This is the corner he made a bit of a untidy run into, and then suddenly gained an advantage when the sister car had a problem. We're guessing it may well be a braking problem, because suddenly hitting the brakes when you're accelerating, that's the sort of thing you do if you've got very fat feet, but I'm sure Paszczewski wasn't suffering from wide shoe syndrome. Oh dear, someone has possibly hit the wrong pedal. That is 63. We're seeing a lot of the Limers at the moment. That is the other. That's Cedric Limer, off and flaming away, but if he comes off the power, that will be fine. So he's gone through the gravel at turn 8, the hairpin opposite the pit building, and is sitting out at the end. It's not at turn 8, and it's not, I tell you what, it's at turn 1 he's gone in backwards. And we had the safety car. Oh, well, have a look. Yes, he sort of hooked it into turn 1 and just it was going away. Couldn't quite reverse all the way through the gravel. Isn't bogged down. Doesn't appear to be going anywhere at all. Maybe it's, well, the brake lights are still on. The engine is still running. Maybe it's bogged down on the other side. Will that lead to a safety car period? He's almost straight ahead at the first corner. That would be bad news indeed for Kiko Galbiati. He's got to 5.1 seconds clear. Really good laps for him. What I'm actually concerned about is Bartosz Paszczewski, with 5 and a bit minutes remaining, going to hold on to second place. He's falling back into the grasp of Sergei Afanasiev. 5.5 seconds is the gap from second to third. Afanasiev in the number 3 Benaldi car maybe has an opportunity now. So what is amiss for the number 8 Imperiale car? His lap time, he's losing even in the first sector. Every sector of the circuit, every lap in a row, it's half a second shed to the race leader, Bartosz Paszczewski. Number 3 has gone past into second place. There's the change, second place. Oh, that's lapping, sorry, bright green cars in the darkness. I was going to say, I was amazed he's gained 5.5 seconds just then, but do excuse me, it's after my bedtime. But giving chase, no doubt, Sergei Afanasiev. Last time around he gained 0.7 of a second. In fact, do the maths on that, he's not going to be able to get close enough. But if Paszczewski drops away even further, if his pace falls even further, he may well fall back from that second position. I think he's got enough in hand, however. Milos Lagrange there, running in 4th place, number 30. Good run for him. Jonathan Cecotto, we saw getting close to Lagrange, then he had a little twitch and had to come off the throttle, and that got him off the tail. Harold Schlegel-Milch, 6th place now, ahead of Stuart Middleton. Not finished yet, I don't think. Schlegel-Milch in the blue metallic car there. His next target, Jonathan Cecotto. There's Cecotto in 5th place, and the number 9 from Target Racing. Just waiting for the lap to be completed to see if Sergei Afanasiev has taken much out of Bartosz Paczeski. Someone's visiting the pits. Not the main plan at this point in the race. Paczeski still holding on to that second place. 5.6 seconds down on the race leader on Kiko Galbiati. 5.2 seconds clear of Sergei Afanasiev. So he's stopped the rot. Might be falling away from the race leader, but he's not losing ground to the chaser. Car 21 been up and down the order. And for Mochulski, he's more down the order at the moment. 19th position overall. Black car with the orange flashes on it. So just to do the classes one more time before we get to the end of the race. Stuart Middleton, he's in 7th place. The car in front of him is the Pro-Am class leader, Harold Schlegelmilch. We've seen him in that number 12 entry quite a lot, getting closer and closer to the front end of the field. It's a dark night, it's a warm night at Misano. It's a 1-2 for Imperiale Racing. And the story of the race is the number 8 car led from pole, gained a 4-second advantage, safety car came out, gained another advantage afterwards, then came the pit stops. And the chasing Vito Pistiglioni came in from second. And the 8 stayed out for longer, then handed over to Bartosz Paczeski, but unfortunately a peculiar incident as he accelerated away from turn number 10, lost all momentum, lost the lead, and since then he's been falling back as Kiko Galbiati is suddenly 8.3 seconds clear. Much slower lap, nearly 3 seconds lost on that lap alone by Paczeski. Will he in fact hold on to second place, or will Sergei Afanasiev in the number 3 be able to close right in? Here is Paczeski, you can see in the background Sergei Afanasiev just holding a few seconds as he leaves turn number 8. There is that wasn't him, that was a lapped car just next in line, and in behind was Sergei Afanasiev in the blue and white car. There you can see the background of the shot, there's Afanasiev. 1 and a bit minutes remaining. It's looking all good. Vito Postiglioni, so many successes, joint champion last year with Carol Bash. This time they're in separate cars. And Postiglioni has a new teammate in Kiko Galbiati. Kiko probably was smiling before the race, quietly confident, and he's shown with good reason why he was so confident that the 44 car could win. It moved to the front of the race, slightly strange circumstances, but has grasped the occasion. Now onto the final lap of the race goes Galbiati. Galbiati was 3rd in the championship last year, so he's no stranger to the front end of the field. That in 2018 he was sharing for Geoffrey Donada at Antonelli Motorsport. He's changed to Imperiale Racing, and certainly going very well indeed on this, the final lap of the race. Don't want to be distracted. Got a big enough advantage, 7.8 seconds. Actually came down a little bit, so he's being a bit cautious on the run to the finish. Doesn't want to blow it now, but it does look like victory's going to the number 44. Going past the back marker. And what's happening in that battle for second place? It was a recovery. I think Sergei Afanasiev in 3rd actually had the traffic in front of him because he fell back. He got to within 3 and a bit seconds. He's now 5 and a bit seconds back. So I think as this is the final lap, he's going to be safe in 3rd place, but unable to challenge Bartosz Paczeski for the second place that at one stage not so long ago looked as though it was eminently possible. So almost time for celebration for teammates down in the pit lane. Chance to go and greet their teammates and chums when they come in. And don't forget we've got not only overall victory, we've got the Pro-Am honours, we've got the Am honours and the LC Cup, the Lamborghini Cup honours. And ready for the checkered flag through turn 16 for the final time. Kiko Galbiati takes his first win of the season, sharing with Vito Postiglioni. His advantage doesn't really matter, he backed right off because the car in second place is his teammate, was some distance back. The eventual margin I think will probably have come down a little bit, but there at the line, number 8, Bartosz Paczeski, Sergei Afanasiev coming across now on the left-hand side of the screen. He will be home in 3rd position overall. So an Imperiale Racing 1-2 Benaldi Motorsport in 3rd position. And Niels Lagrange takes 4th in car number 30 from Lippert Motorsport. So good spread of teams through those top cars. Jonathan Cicotto, ruining that slight mistake, ends up in 5th place overall. And Harold Schlegelmilch winning the Pro-Am class in 6th. Very good run from him, working his way up the order. Stuart Middleton in 7th. Just waiting for the other runners to come through here to win the Am class. Really good run from Raffaele Giannoni, number 96. racing for Automobili Tricolori, 8th overall, winning the winning the AM honours. And in behind, Jake Rattenbury coming through 2nd in the AM class in 9th overall, and Nicholas Gomar should take 3rd in class in the number 89 car in 10th. So, a race of two halves, a race of two sets of drivers, and a race in which we had an unusual incident where the car that was leading suddenly had some form of problem, lost the lead, but once he'd taken the lead, Kiko Galbiati built on it at ease, at will. With ease, at will, I should have said, most likely, but he can now cool down. A winner of the first of two races here for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. It's the pairing of Vito Postiglione, last year's joint champion, and his new teammate, Kiko Galbiati. So their season is starting to find some form. At a 2nd place at Silverstone, and this win will put them very well placed in the championship. We'll do the points in a short while. Cruising in. It's been a long day, a hot day, but the cool of the night air has really been a helping hand for all of these drivers. We did, of course, see Joseph Zaruba going out of the race, his brakes on fire. No damage, I don't think damage too bad, but there is the finishing order. Vito Postiglione started, Kiko Galbiati finished the job for the number 44 Imperiale Racing. Lamborghini ahead of their teammates, Karel Basch and Bartosz Pachewski. In the end, just under 10 seconds, the gap between 1st and 2nd. Danny Kroos and Sergei Afanasiev gave chase for Benaldi Motorsport. They have to make do with 3rd place overall. Top place in the Pro-Am honours in 6th place overall, Shoto Abkazava and Harold Schlegelmilk, 2 positions ahead of the top AM runner, Raffaele Giannoni, who ran on his own in 96. And Gerhard van der Horst won the Lamborghini Cup class in 14th overall, ahead of Benoit Semoulin. And you know how tight it was at the finish? A 10th of a second. I hadn't realised at that point it was getting as close as that, but great racing into the night. You can see the smile, you only had to see the eyes, Kiko Galbiati, and the cheers from the crew down there. Vito Postiglione, he's been doing this for a long time, but Galbiati, 3rd in the championship last year. You've got to see that as a super strong duo, a pair that are friends, family, mechanics, everyone wants a piece of the action, but this is such a strong driver lineup. I think almost tears in the eyes there of Kiko. He did well, he did very well indeed. If you think that looks like a smile with the helmet on, wait until the helmet comes off. And we're going to hear from Vito Postiglione, and when his helmet is off, from Kiko Galbiati down there with Dakota.
Well, I'm trying to get in here. Congratulations, Vito. Comincia secondi e finito prima bella gara. I said you started 2nd, you finished 1st. What a great race.
Sì, ho avuto un po' di difficoltà sinceramente all'inizio a tenere un po' il passo di Karol, ho cercato di non perdere tanto terreno nei suoi confronti, lui ne aveva un po' di più nella prima parte, poi Kiko è stato davvero molto bravo a finire il lavoro e è andato molto forte nell'ultimo stint, quindi ha guidato davvero bene, quindi alla fine è un ottimo risultato per noi, è la prima vittoria quest'anno della stagione e poi chiaramente vogliamo ringraziare il team imperiale, Ivano Pignatti che comunque ci permette di essere qui e voglio comunque ringraziarlo, grazie.
To get the gist about what he said is that he's really thankful to his team and his family, and Kiko did a great job in the 2nd stint. Also, the 1st stint was very hard with Karol pushing him from the behind. Kiko, what a fan base you have here. Congratulations, so exciting to see you win.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a difficult race. With the car was perfect, absolutely. I don't know which problem has Bartosz, but I'm really happy for this result. I have to say thank you to my family, to all the team, and this victory is for the uncle of Vito and for Stefano, that now they are not.
Congratulations, guys. Honour to your uncle. Thank you.
So Vito Postiglione, extra meaning for him, that win. And it was interesting to hear there from Kiko saying doesn't know what the problem was for Bartosz Pachewski. Suddenly was able to overtake him down the back straight, and they've nailed their first win of the season. I don't think, looking at the form, it's going to be their last. And it's up to the other teams to see what they can do to take the battle to Imperiale Racing. 1st and 2nd here at Misano. And let's take a look at the start of the race. 50-minute race, and the two green cars blasting away on the rolling start. Looking on board with the car from the outside of the front row, Vito Postiglione, but he had to duck into second place any second now. Flash of green, his teammate Karol Basch into the lead of the race into turn 1. Nice and tidy, didn't touch each other through turn 1 or turn 2. Unfortunately for Piero Necchi, car facing backwards in the track, started in about 8th position, spun round, and he was the first retirement from the race. And for Bartosz Pachewski, watching on from the pit lane, he was delighted to see his teammate Karol Basch was stretching ever further clear. But there was to be a safety car. Because of this, breaks a flame, breaks a light. Through the gravel trap went Joseph Sharuba. Car came to a halt against the tyre wall on the outside. That had to be recovered. So the 4-second advantage enjoyed by Karol Basch in the race lead number 8 had to be built on all over again. It went up to about 1.2 seconds. Big instant out on the circuit, but got the car facing the right way all over again. That was the 63 car from Auto Vitesse, Cedric Lima, having that lurid moment down between up to turn 4, and then the sudden moment, running second, became first in the flash of an eye, the blink of an eye. Kiko Galbiati said thank you very much, went past Bartosz Pachewski into the lead of the race, made no mistakes, kept on stretching the lead. Pachewski was able to hold on to second place to make it an Imperiale Racing 1 and 2, but you can see for Postiglione, and still wearing his helmet there in the highlights, for Kiko Galbiati, great delight here at Misano. Good racing in the night, patches of light around the circuit. Let's just refresh our memories. After 29 laps of racing, nearly 10 seconds clear when Kiko Galbiati crossed the finish line ahead of his Polish rival Bartosz Pachewski. Sergei Afanasiev completing the podium in 3rd place overall. Good run from Niels Lagrange, Anthony Lambert to take home 4th place. Davide Banditti, a new teammate, Jonathan Cicotto, they look handy too. They took 5th, and then leading the Pro-Am class in 6th overall, Harold Schlegelmilch and Shota Abshkagava. So great racing at the front of the field. It will feel very different and a whole lot hotter for our Sunday race at the Misano World Circuit. We're out to play one more time tomorrow. I think we're in for a real blast away from the front row of the grid. Can't wait for that to happen. Now, of course, it's the turn of the podium ceremony. So just waiting for the drivers. It's a real cluster of them coming through. Hard to identify a lot of them as they come through wearing their regulation and race suits, black with the white sleeves. Got Vito Postiglione with the silver hair up the front, standing close to the podium. He knows his way to this podium. That is for sure. As soon as he started racing Lamborghinis 3 seasons ago, he just had real aplomb for it and has kept being right at the sharp end of the field. Chalk up another victory for Vito.
Il team Bonaldi che ha conquistato il 3° posto in questo primo round serale, poi Imperiale Racing invece ha monopolizzato il primo e il secondo.
After 11 at night, the clean-up around the circuit, in fact a very clean race by and large, the first of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo races, and it's pretty much good night here from the circuit, but not without the podium ceremonies for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Need the Master of Ceremonies to take them under control. Herding cats is a phrase that comes to mind. Almost waiting for the drum roll. So here we are, the first podium ceremony about to begin, waiting for the drivers to be called out.
Cominceremo con I terzi classificati. Ok, al terzo posto con il team Bonaldi, Danny Croix.
So in 3rd place, the number 3 crew, Danny Croix and Sergei Afanasiev, the Dutch and Russian combination. Points in the pot for them. But it's an Imperiale Racing 1 and 2. With the car that led away from pole, having to make do with 2nd place, the Polish combination, Karol Basch and Bartosz Pachewski. You haven't heard the last from them. But it's their teammates who draw the first blood here at the Misano World Circuit. Heading for the top step of the podium, well deserved. It's Vito Postiglione and Kiko Galbiati. Kiko particularly overjoyed to be up on the top step here at home in Italy.
Per la vittoria l'inno di Mameli.
As always, up on the podium, you get the difference of expressions. All joy for Postiglione, and particularly Galbiati up on the top step. But Karol Bash, second from the left, is just thinking, I was dominating that race, and whatever it was that went wrong cost them the lead. But certainly his young teammate, Bartosz Pacieski, finding his feet in his first season in the Super Trofeo, and they already have one win under their belt from the opening round. Let's see how many more can come their way. Now, finally, a smile as the second place trophy goes to Karol Bash. Surely more wins will come their way. Tonight, it wasn't their night. Maybe tomorrow in the daylight, all will be sweetness for them. But tomorrow is another day. Tonight belongs to the drivers on the top step, Vito Postiglione, and the driver with the biggest smile of the whole meeting so far, Chico Galbiati. Plates and trophies, green boots glowing in the night here at Misano. Finally cool for the first time for several days, and certainly hot work for the drivers, but a fantastic evening, party atmosphere at the circuit, a big party up on the roof of the pit building. Paddock was abuzz as day turned to evening, turned to night. Time for some fizz. Some of the drivers nearly forgetting their role up on the podium, what they need to do, and certainly it's Lamborghini party time. Top three finishers, the top three crews, but the honours, a 1-2 finish for Imperiale Racing ahead of Bonaldi Motorsport. Will it be the same tomorrow? Let us find out. That was the overall top three. And then we're waiting to have the podium ceremony for the Pro-Am class runners. And in fact, we should only have 2 sets of drivers coming up. We only had 3 Pro-Am runners at the 3 Pro-Am pairings at the start of the race. And Piero Necchi, who started very well placed on the grid, the first of the Pro-Am runners, was the first car to retire from the race, spun round in the first couple of corners on the opening lap. So up, no one on the third step. The second step taken by the crew that finished second in the Pro-Am class. That's the 19 entry. Sorry, it's the 21 entry. I was going to say that's Gregor Muchulski in 19th place overall. That fooled me. Well, having a real array of national anthems played out of the podium, and no wonder Shota Abkhavaza is smiling. It's his national anthem, it's his team, the Artline Team Georgia team, on the top step with Harold Schlegelmilch. But the second step occupied by the crew of number 21, which is a GT3 Polo car, Gregor Muchulski and Luca Marchi, new teammate for him this weekend. They look pretty happy with life on the second step of the Pro-Am podium, but it's all smiles for first Shota Abkhavaza and then for Harold Schlegelmilch up on the top step. Victors in the Pro-Am class, 6th overall. Really good result for them there.
So, guys, can you take place on the same step on the podium for the picture showing your trophies? Can you? Thank you.
And just to point out that with the 3, for some reason this year the Pro-Am class is the smallest class of the 4 that run in the Super Trofeo. We had 3 starters, but after the second corner we only had 2 runners, and Harold Schlegelmilch in the number 12 just kept on working his way through the order, building on the work of Shota Abkhavaza in the first half of the race. But Harold did the lion's share of the work and really was in the thick of the battle at the front end. His next target was Jonathan Tricotto, but the clock ran down to the 50-minute mark. Shota Abkhavaza clearly wants to be up there all night long on the podium, and why not? It's been a great day and night of racing here at Misano.
quindi le bottiglie possiamo. Bene, al terzo.
We're not finished yet. We have the AM and the LC trophies. Presentations to be made. Third in the AM class, car number 89, Nicholas Gomar, AGS Events. Now, number 33 was second to the finish, Mikko Eskelinen, the Finnish driver, sharing with Jake Rattenbury. And then the top step, 8th place overall, fantastic run from Raffaele Giannoni. But at the end he was only 4 seconds clear of Jake Rattenbury as the British driver was homing in. Could be more patriotically Italian. Automobili Tricolore, it's in the name, it's in the national anthem. And it's very much in the bloodline of the driver who took it to victory, racing all on his own, Raffaele Giannoni. Nicholas Gomar also racing on his own. Yeah, he's pleased. I love it when drivers just look genuinely happy and satisfied up on the podium. Good solid performance from the crew in second place, Jake Rattenbury and Mikko Eskelinen, the Finn and the Brit. But it's the Italian on that top step. The Italian's waited to, yeah, the smile's coming to his face. There he is, Raffaele Giannoni, 8th overall. In fact, the 3 finishers in the top 3 positions in class, 8th, 9th and 10th overall in the AM. Well, they're all in the AM, but in the overall reckoning. So good runs from all of those. Some of the drivers deciding maybe they don't want to spray their champagne, they want to keep their overalls, but it looks like Mikko Eskelinen and Jake Rattenbury up for a bit of fun and rival behaviour up on the podium there, so they're delighted. 9th place overall, 2nd in the AM class. See if they can build on that for tomorrow. And now the Lamborghini Cup. 14th overall, very strong run for Gerhard van der Horst, but only a 10th of a second clear of Benoit Semoulin. Super close at the end of the race. But it was made that because Gerhard van der Horst, it's all right, I'll just correct myself. So in 3rd place in class, car number 79, coming out, Jose Collado. Another driver like Nicholas Gomar racing for AGS Events. 2nd place is number 26 crew scooter. Tonakam, Benoit Semoulin and Francois Semoulin. Spot the similarity, spot the surname. And up on the top step, Gerhard van der Horst. He's won this class many times. The Dutch, very popular driver. So applause to the LC Cup finishers, the top 3 positions. Gerhard van der Horst on the top step, Benoit Semoulin on the 2nd step, along with the other Semoulin, Francois, and then on the 3rd step of the podium, racing on his own in the class, Jose Collado, number 79. He finished 17th, and that super close finish between Gerhard van der Horst and Benoit Semoulin. So the last of the podiums for tonight. We'll do it all over again tomorrow, but the last driver to stand on the top step here at Misano on Saturday at the end of June is Gerhard van der Horst. He has the 2 trophies. He's joined by his pals up on the top step. He's got to do it all over again tomorrow, but it was very close at the finish. And the brothers Semoulin, who won the class in both rounds of the races, the opening round at Silverstone, right in there at the finish. They're accruing a lot of points towards their championship challenge. That just leaves the champagne for the final time on the podium here at Misano. Looks as these gentlemen are going to take it down and share it with their friends and family. Not Gerhard van der Horst. He's getting his open here and now. And likewise, Jose Collado getting some spray coming out any second. There it is. That's the end of the podium ceremonies. So thank you for joining us here at Misano. It's a long day. It's past 11 at night. That's it from me, Bruce Jones. Come back and join us. We're doing it all over again tomorrow.